Your questions on PUA, EIDL, and more are answered. But don't ask me to explain her haircut, please. I just... Good afternoon, everybody. There's no explanation for that hairstyle. I just, this is Evenings LALATE. Hope you're good and safe. This is our 1-hour programming block every night that starts at 6:45 with a check. Boy, if you didn't catch that broadcast, you better. That was a bombshell. And this one, for the first time ever, I'm going back old school. I'm going over your questions about everything and more. Last night I said on this exact broadcast, the last one of the day, every day on LALATE, that I would answer your questions about FPUC, PUA, UI, EIDL, and stimulus is more. I, in fact, actually said, don't ask me what day you're getting the stimulus check, because that's really an impossible question to answer. Remember that the stimulus check delivery times we do know. So let me go over this right away. We do know that if you receive benefits electronically and you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, or Railroad benefits, or the IRS has your bank account on file because of how you pay your taxes or how you get your refunds, then you would likely receive your stimulus check about 10 to 13 days after it becomes law. Because IRS, well, actually, Steve Mnuchin, Treasury Secretary Donald Trump, says it'll take 10 days for IRS to send it to you. It means 10 days to electronically send it to you. Bank processing times are about 24 hours now for electronic processing, but some are up to 3 days. So that's why I'm saying 10 to 13 days electronically when it becomes a law. Next, if you are set up for paper check, I would add another additional week for that. If your question is what day is it going to become law, I don't know. I mean, that's like me telling you what day is Steve Mnuchin going to have a secret meeting with Nancy Pelosi to get a stopgap about the federal budget so that your stimulus checks can be done. I mean, would I have seen that coming this afternoon? No. Watch the video right before that as well. All right, so let me get to your incredible questions from last night's video. There was 1,300 questions. So needless to say, this is a 20-minute video. Let's see how best I can do. When are we getting our stimulus checks? Oh my goodness. Are they going to get the check this month or will it be next month? Well, that's a really great question. I mean, you can look at the timeline. I will tell you what Mark Meadows says. Mark Meadows says it's going to be a law. The first stimulus package will be introduced next week, and it'll be approved by law the week after. So that would be, next week is the 8th, then 7 days after that would be the 15th, then 10 days after that would be the 25th. Well, according to Mark Meadows' representation, you could get it at the end of this month. When are we going to get the stimulus? You said September 1st. We're going to get it already the second week. No, you're not going to get it September. Today's September 3rd. Wait, the person put that comment yesterday. Yesterday was September 2nd. Yeah, you're going to get the checks if you go back in time. That's another movie. We're going to get our checks yesterday? Yeah. By the way, I always do this as a cold read, so you're unsure what I'm doing. I am actually going through the comments as a cold read. I have not looked at these before. Are they ever going to get around to passing the bill? They're just going to run around with their heads cut off? No, they're going to get to the bill. They should give us $1,200 for every month we've been waiting. Very well said. When are we getting the checks? Okay, here we go. Hectate's daughter. My question as a person who has transitioned from SSDI to SSI, I would like to know if anyone who has put a one line about continuing the full SNAP benefits. Don't know. It's not happening next week. Your intros love me every time. Well, thank you. LA, what happened with the stimulus check that was supposed to be given out end of September? Well, we're not at the end of September, and There was never a approved stimulus check. There was no bill that said law that said stimulus checks going out at the end of September. Anna, if the bill is 500 billion, is there going to be a check in there? Absolutely. They're going. Steve Mnuchin, Mark Meadows, everyone involved said this bill next week is going to have stimulus checks in there. I'm telling you what their representations are, and I'm also telling you that don't look at one. Reports about the skinny bill draft from 3 weeks ago. That's a different thing. That's not what's happening next week. That was a draft. And Forbes ran one article, and everyone cited this insanely inaccurate report, and that said there wasn't a stimulus check in that draft. That draft never became law. That is not what's happening next week. So if people continually cite that thing, I'm sorry, it's about as outdated as someone's hairstyle. When are we going to get the money? I'm hungry. Okay, Mary Moreno. Okay, the question is, I'm not filing my 2019 taxes until October. The IRS will base my stimulus eligibility off of my 2018 again, right? Yes. If you got a stimulus check before, then you're fine. If you didn't get a stimulus check before, and you think you didn't get it because you made too much money, and you really want the stimulus check, then get your tax return on file. I mean, it's, people that always ask me, well, why am I not getting this because I didn't do my tax return? Well, if you really want the stimulus check, get the tax return on file. I get that for EIDL a lot. Now what is she doing? Someone asking me about Nancy. Annette, love your intros. Well, thank you. Will we be getting any more stimulus checks after the one coming up? Yes. A lot of people have said, yes, you will. They are Steve Mnuchin. They are Joe Biden. There's all indications that you would get another stimulus check. The issues are how long this pandemic continues. If this pandemic continues with no vaccine to January, February, and the economic conditions are about the same or worse, absolutely. I mean, it would be insane to think that no one doesn't get another check. Karen, a question about EIDL. Can EIDL be used to start a business in restaurant, hospitality, etc., since all the business has been closed? No, I mean, it's not to start a business, to help an existing business. LALATE, what day in September are we getting the stimulus in our account? Israel, I don't know what day it's going to become law. I don't know how quick your bank does processing of direct deposits. I mean, that's like 5 variables involved in there. If you tell me how quickly your bank does a direct deposit, if someone sends you a check tomorrow, maybe I can help you with that. And I know exactly the day the bill is going to be signed. But no, I mean, we just don't know the exact date. Sassy, please tell me if we're really going to get a check. Yes, you really are going to get a check. When is it coming, now or not? It's not coming today, or actually yesterday, but it is coming. Are we going to get monthly checks? And let me clarify this, because there's always someone that seems to not hear the verb or the adverb. I have been reporting that one of the stimulus check bills, along with the other rent bills, along with the other hazard pay bills, are still on the table. That doesn't mean that they're becoming law. It doesn't mean that they're sending out that money. When I report that Mitt Romney has another hazard pay bill, do you think that Mitt Romney's hazard pay bill is sending you hazard pay money tomorrow morning? No, but when it comes to stimulus, sometimes people seem to just forget there's a verb in the sentence. The Harris stimulus bill calls for multiple checks every month, consecutive checks every month, $2,000 every month for 6 months until the pandemic improves, until unemployment improves, or the virus goes away. The bill is still there. It's still on the Senate floor. It can get approved. It can also not get voted upon. It can also be ignored. So are we still going to get monthly stimulus checks? You were never approved for monthly stimulus checks. The first CARES Act called for multiple stimulus checks, and the wonderful congressional leaders that we have took that out before this channel started. I would have been, tweeting up a storm, and took it out and only gave you one stimulus check. Carolette, can you please tell me why the Wicked Witch has so much input on our stimulus checks? I really don't know. I mean, I love Carolette's question. Carolette McBraver, I love that question. The first stimulus package negotiations in March involved not 4 people, not 20 people, not 50 people. It's like hundreds of people. They were doing all different things to get things done. There were committees analyzing every single number. There were, like, for example, when FPUC came up, they immediately saw FPUC and they're like, what is that? So they had to, because FPUC never existed before. So they had come up with the idea. Then the first they had to agree upon the idea, then they had to agree upon the number, then they had to analyze the number, then they had to look at economic stuff. And so there are all these different committees that are doing things. This time around, it's just a bunch of 4 yin-yangs doing much of nothing and saying, hey, call me. I'm like, what's going on here? I've never seen such flippantness. It's really awful. I don't understand why she has so much input in the stimulus checks. I don't understand it at all. I absolutely don't understand why. To be very frank, I mean, she's in the House. The Democrats in the Senate are actually going to get fried. I think they're going to get fried if they don't do anything good next week, because it's very clear that they're not in her House. She's in the House and they're in the Senate. If they don't do anything, it could become strange. Will we ever get our checks? Julie, yes, you will. Eugene, the coronavirus is no way ending some people. They just keep saying it, like myself. Donner, how do you know we are getting stimulus is check? Because there's representations of people that are doing bills. All we can do is go off the representations of elected officials. Now, we can sit back and say everyone's lying to us, that no one is telling us the truth, and who goes through our walk of life not believing 4, 5, 6 different people? It's not like we're dealing with one person that you may not believe, but when you have 4, 5, 6 different people saying they're doing things, then you have to presume that that is an accurate statement when you hear from 5, 6 different people. What do you do if SBA's only paid you a partial stimulus? So it's talking about the EIDL grant. Oh, boy. So if you don't know, EIDL grant was to pay $10,000 on the CARES Act, and SBA took it upon themselves, moving the goalpost, as I first reported on this channel back on April 25th, was not paying full grant, was paying a partial amount of grant based upon number of employees, $1,000 per employee, a arbitrary, totally made up discretionary determination that they just invented one day. And the question is, will you ever see the $10,000? No. I don't think you'll ever see the remainder of the $10,000 unless 3 things happen. 1, a court orders them to do it. 2, a Democratic president is elected and kicks Javita Carranza out of the SBA, which he will because she's a Republican nominee, and puts someone in there that does something to fix the situation. Or 3, that Trump is reelected and that she's kicked out, and that a Senate-led or House, or a Senate and Democrat-led Senate and a Democrat-led House kicks her, or forces her to comply with the order. They've really just done not much of nothing. Where is the rest of the first checks that went? There are people waiting on the first checks. May McCarthy McCartha. Great question. So those $500 dependent checks that a lot of people never got, IRS sent them out in the last 2 weeks. If you were a dependent and didn't get the first stimulus check, then you need to go to IRS tracking tool. If you are talking about a non-dependent check, if you're talking about a $1,200 check and you think you're eligible for it, you need to go track them as well. Remember, if you're an adult dependent, you're not eligible for a first stimulus check. So if you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, or railroad benefits and appear on someone else's tax return, you're not eligible for a first stimulus check. When are we going to get the check? When are we going to get the check? When are we going to get the check? Okay, is $400 most likely for FPUC, or will there be a tug of war to raise it higher at $500? Michael Kim, great question. I love that question. This again is my predictions. This is not Steve Mnuchin saying, I'm going to give you $500. This is my predictions. The difference between $400 and $600 is really nothing for purposes of budget. When we're looking at the value of this bill next week of $500 billion, and we're talking about $400 versus $500 FPUC, it's like nothing. It's really not a lot of financial difference to give Americans $500 FPUC or $400 FPUC. I just don't know what's going on with Republicans on this one. I think that $600 is not a likely number. I don't think $200 is a likely number. I think $300 is not a likely number. I've always thought 400 to 600 is possible, but 400 to 500 is likely. But now I really do think that 400 may be happening because what's happening next week revolves around the need to draw in Republicans who are so conservative they don't want to give you a penny for FPUC, and to say they're going to give you $400 is just like a leap of faith. It's an incredible stretch to get them to give you $400. So for them to give you $500 and to get it done quickly may take a lot longer than to get them on board to do $400 and get it done in a quick turnaround. Why is our government using income from 2019 for stimulus checks? They got to use something. I mean, they got to use some benchmark. And you know, the eviction moratorium issued yesterday is also using that benchmark. So they have to use something. Most federal programs on the stimulus package, whether there's EIDL or loans or things like that, go off of 2019. But understand some of them that are loans or grants sometimes can use 2020 information. Can Negative Nancy do anything to stop the stimulus checks, says D. Smith? The last question was by Alan Deus, by the way. Can Negative Nancy do anything to stop our stimulus checks? Any idea why she's being so disagreeable? D. Smith. I know why she's being disagreeable. It's because she's trying to give a bailout to states that want free grant money for years to come. There's a financial reason she's doing it. These states can borrow. They're allowed to borrow. They're allowed to go to the Federal Reserve and get loans from the Main Street Lending Program. The reason they don't want to borrow and they want to have free money given to them, grant money, is because they've already borrowed a lot. And if they continue to borrow too much, they're in big trouble. A lot of states are on what you would call normally the edge of bankruptcy, but they can't declare bankruptcy because it's not allowed under the Constitution. And the only way they can deal with unable to pay their debt on loans is they have to start shutting down services to make the state spend money less quickly. And so she really has these states tugging at her leg like I've never seen. The problem she's so disagreeable, though, is a bigger personality issue with her. The reason she's disagreeable is she's not a numbers person. This is not a person who has incredible financial background. She didn't work on Wall Street in any huge capacity to process tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of numbers on a stimulus package. I mean, stimulus package is a lot of numbers. It's 1,800 pages, but has a lot of numbers. And you just sit back and talk about children going hungry because you can't talk about numbers. She shouldn't be doing this. This is not, she could talk about things that are sort of superfluous and soft and fluffy, but this is a package about numbers. And if you don't process the numbers, you don't understand what's going on. Kenneth Morales, I have a question, LA. Is it possible the Senate can come back early and work on passing the bill, Let's Go Purple Power? Yes, and I've gotten that question a lot. And people basically say it a little bit nastier. They're like, why don't they come back? And yeah, they can. But as Mark Meadows has indicated, they have been working. The fact that people aren't in session, let me answer your question this way, Kenneth. To come back early. A lot of these senators are still in D.C. They never left, or they go back for the weekend and then they come back during the week. They're there Monday through Friday and they just go back on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday to their home state and then come back Monday through Friday. A lot of them have been working. They've been in committees. They've been having meetings all the time. Mark Meadows says he's talking to these senators morning and night. So they're not in session or on the floor, but they are working. To whomever has already received Texas, do these guys give the money with your regular UI, or did I get it separately? Please, someone answer me. Okay, so that's a great question. I detailed that LWA is now paying 3 weeks, and the person is asking whether the people who got LWA were they on PUA or were they on UI? Ooh, I should know that answer, but I don't remember. I think it was both, and I really don't think it matters. I mean, they're computer systems that put things on top of things. So, and this is AX888 asked this question. I got to tell you, I had a couple people in Texas that I got nothing. So why are those other people saying they got 5 weeks? So don't come biting at me. I saw their not their pay stubs, but a screen grab of their website. They got 5 weeks. So. Um, this is Jennifer in Illinois, Jennifer O'Connor. What is the talk about rent assistance? How much would it be to be normally until it's over? Or would it just be a one-time payment? Oh, great question. I love that question. Boy, I'm loving the questions tonight. So no, it would be for several months. It would be several months, and it would be also for utilities, and it would be for anyone who qualifies because of COVID-19, but not for all U.S. citizens. It would likely be for U.S. citizens under a certain economic level based upon 2019 earnings. So they're first going to determine who's eligible, then they'll require you to prove up your impact by COVID-19, and then they'll require you to apply, list your apartment, your landlord, and then also list your utilities, and the money would be paid right to both of them. Dina Harris, does anyone know if the eviction moratorium is for everyone or just for people on Section 8 or government housing? A friend of mine is being evicted. Boy, I've only done that like in every video. Okay, this is why you gotta watch evenings afternoon. Did I say evenings afternoon? LATE afternoons, because I literally cover that incredible detail. No, it's for people who made a certain amount of money. Basically, if you got a stimulus check, you qualify for it. Let's just make it simple as that. LATE, is there more to be more than one stimulus check? And if so, what happened to the checks? Peter Reyes, no. The first stimulus package was originally supposed to have multiple checks, a check for every month, March, April, May, and potentially June. They got rid of it. They said one check. The second stimulus package is being done next week, one check, but there's likelihood for checks or check thereafter. Boy, I love doing this. I mean, 1,800 comments, you can't get to many in a single video, but I love these questions. They're incredible. So you know what? Let's do it again. Let's do it again tomorrow night. Drop your questions about PUA, UI, EIDL, LWA to this video. Don't ask me what day you're going to get a check in your bank account. It's just, I want to help as many people that really have incredible, urgent needs right now. I love the questions about rent. Oh, ask me about rent as well. And coming up tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, is Mornings LALATE. Like the video, share the video, and stay with LALATE for more.